Hey, my little cupcakes. I've got an amusing story. The bear ate your sandwich. By now, I think you know what happened to your sandwich, but you may not know how it happened. So let me tell you. Let me tell you how it happened. The morning air was warm and bright when the bear stepped out of his den. He stretched and sniffed. The scent of ripe berries drifted towards him and led him to a wonderful discovery. The bear came out of his den and stretched and sniffed, and he smelled something, and it went towards the truck. After a berry feast, the bear curled up in the sunlight and listened to the buzzing of the bees. Before long, he was fast asleep. So he jumped onto the truck, and the truck was loaded with fruit, and he ate it all and fell asleep. By the time the bear opened his eyes, the buzzing had become a rumbling. He was being quickly swept along like a leaf in a great river. The forest disappeared in the distance, and high cliffs rose up around him. So he fell asleep on the truck, and the buzzing of the bees stopped, but there was a loud rumbling of the city. He didn't even know what a city was. Once the rumbling stopped, the bear found himself in a new forest. It was like nothing he'd ever seen before. So once the truck stopped, he was in the city. He'd never seen anything like it. The forest had many great climbing spots. The trees were still itchy here. There was a good bark for scratching, and the mud squished nicely under his feet. So you can see him climbing all over the buildings. He was scratching himself on the telephone pole, walking in the mud. He liked it in the city. There were many interesting smells in this forest, but some of the tastiest ones had already been found. So he went to the garbage can, saw animals there. He couldn't find anything to eat. He was hungry. Raccoons were eating the food. Leafy green smells led the bear to a new fun. And this is when he saw it. So he smelled something and ended up in a park. And that's when he smelled it and saw it. There it was, your beautiful and delicious sandwich, all alone. He waited to make sure no one saw him, not even the sandwich, before he made his move. You see him looking behind the bench? He waited until he could make his move. It was such a great sandwich. The bear loved it. But just as he was almost finished, he heard sniff, snuffle, slobber, snort behind him. What was that? He heard a noise after he'd eaten the sandwich. What was all those sounds? He had been seen. The bear was so surprised that he ran out of the park and down the street until he spotted a very tall tree. Oh my goodness. So he'd been spotted by all these dogs. They saw him eat the sandwich. From the top of the tree, the bear could see his forest. It was time to go home. The waves rocked the bear and he began to doze. So he climbed a telephone pole and saw the forest was down, so he jumped on a boat. It's time to go home. Hope he makes it. When he opened his eyes, he heard the breeze in familiar branches and the birds and bugs' evening song. Well, the bear had made it home just fine. So riding the boat, he realized that he was home. He could hear familiar sounds. So that's what happened to your sandwich. The bear ate it. I saw it all. I tried to save your sandwich. I was able to save this little bit of lettuce here. The bear dropped it as he ran off, but I couldn't save the rest. I'm sorry to have to tell you this, to tell you about your sandwich this way, but now you know. That makes me wonder, did the dog eat it? Is he making up a story? We'll never know.